Today, on Starfield Essentials, I review the Terran Armada DLC. This will include background, likes, dislikes, and conclusions, with spoilers along the way. If you didn't buy it, should you? And what can Bethesda learn from this DLC? My name is Richard. Let's get started. Background. Bethesda released Terran Armada on April 7th, 2026. It was free for those who already bought the Premium Edition or a $10 upgrade for Standard Edition owners. I had the Premium Edition on Xbox, but not on Steam, so I purchased the add-on for my Steam playthroughs. I completed the DLC using my original vanilla Xbox character using 0 mods. I'm currently replaying the DLC with mods on Steam. I probably played Terran Armada for about 20 hours, but a bunch of that was completing incursions to get the 15 and 30 incursion achievements. After the initial April 7th content, which introduced the Free Lanes game update, Bethesda provided 2 bug fixes for the game and DLC. On the 14th of May, Bethesda published Starfield version 1.16.242, and on the 11th of June, they released version 1.16.244. The first patch fixed the first bug I had with Terran Armada, which was an issue with quest completion and visiting the Anchor Point station. The second patch fixed the incursion marker bug, which also affected my game. There are currently no indications that any other patches are pending. Redditor Grunt636 compiled this helpful list of all quests added by the DLC. It's missing one, however, which is one of my favorites. I'll say more about Unspoken Regret later. This video will focus on what you can do in the DLC. I tend not to care as much about the stuff you can get, like weapons or other gear. The basic premise of Terran Armada is that a breakaway faction has declared war on the settled systems, and it's up to the player to stop them. Along the way, they have introduced technology to force players to engage with the new Free Lanes ship cruise mechanics. In order to restore the ability to grav jump in certain star systems, the player must remove so-called minor and major incursions. The player will encounter new NPCs and recruit a robot companion named Delta.
Status pending. Aggression protocols deferred. Control routed to processor.
I'll say more about all of this in the likes, dislikes, and mixed sections of the video. Next, likes. First, I enjoy a good video game fight as much as the next player, but if the whole game is combat, then it becomes boring to me. While most of Terran Armada requires combat, in space and at POIs, there are a few non-combat activities that caught my attention. For example, sometimes it's possible to resolve a ground-based minor incursion by convincing the Terran scout parties to desert their masters.
I don't know why, but something tells me you're right. I wish there was another way. Fine. I admit, I've had my doubts with our leaders for some time. But your words have finally convinced me.
Second, Terran Armada was the first official Starfield content that included quests that required building outposts. I wondered if Bethesda added these to encourage players to try that mechanic, assuming they had not done so in previous playthroughs. The outpost requirements were very simple, but it was fun to perform these tasks as part of the 3 missions in the This for That quest. By the way, the choice for the Ryujin Industries outpost on Namera 4A was just gorgeous. Third, small quests with peaceful themes formed another non-combat aspect of Terran Armada. These reminded me of a side quest or two from the main game and Shattered Space, like the Delinquent Mercenary and Lost and Found, which I featured in those 2 videos. In Terran Armada, the Unspoken Regret quest filled that niche. You trigger this quest by retrieving a slate on a Terran Armada ship.
Can I help you? A slate? This is a surprise. Let's see here. It's from my father. He's gone. I didn't think I'd hear from him ever again. But after those threats over SSNN, a part of me knew it was a possibility.
Fourth, there's another quest that's a mix of dialogue and combat that I'd like to highlight. It's called The Lost Terran, and features a Terran Armada robot who doesn't think that he is a robot. After helping this robot named Buck E repel a Terran attack force, he offers to sell Terran Armada gear and help with crafting. I like Buck E a lot better than the main robot companion Delta. I would have preferred a robot like Buck E to have been the main new NPC in the DLC.
Come on. Take the bait. Just bite. Just a little nibble. What do you want? I'm fishing here. Now, I don't mean to be rude, friend, but you're blocking my son. I can't say I much appreciate it. Robot? I don't see any robots here. You must be seeing things, friend. Well, I'll tell you what. You wait a while longer, and there might just be. Bucky, nice to meet you.
Incursions play a major role in the DLC, and thankfully there are a variety of them in the game. There are of course minor and major variations, but for each of these categories there are several possible mission types. There was a nice mix of ships to board, and all of them were visually distinctive and engaging. Some offered zero-G environments, which was nice to see in a space game. For example, I liked the mix of gravity and zero-G in the mission to rescue Roxanne from the Machina Forge Prime space POI in the Going Haywire mission. I did have trouble finding my way out of a ship or two, and the combat could get pretty intense. The reward was accumulating a ton of loot. Playing as a vanilla character, I spent a decent amount of time selling all the stuff I looted from Terran Armada adversaries. Dealing with one of the ground-based incursions provided one of the most cinematic experiences found in the entire game. What made this even better was that it was part of a hostage rescue mission.
We're safe, thanks to you.
This explosion was simple, but it reminded me of the finale of Shattered Space.
The Terrans will definitely feel this mess.
Finally, I enjoyed having Sarah as my primary companion for the DLC. I look forward to hearing her commentary on how I handled the missions, and she did not disappoint.
If you have a moment, I'd like to talk about your decision not to turn the Terran robots against their masters. As someone in a leadership position, I can empathize with having to make tough choices. I'm just curious how you came to your decision. Ah, by the book then. People mock training manuals, but I find them handy regardless of the situation. I understand the temptation to set the robots to frenzy. They were military weapons and would be held in military facilities. But I believe shooting a defenseless target may violate certain statutes, and it's possible there were civilian personnel that could have been harmed in the aftermath. And I support your temperance. It would have been easy to mete out your revenge given they brought the war to us. Regardless, I'm sure this isn't the last we've heard from the Terrans. While at Constellation, our primary directive is exploring. Part of that journey means tangling with the occasional hostile. My only hope is that those occasions are few and far between.
Next, mixed. I had mixed feelings about a few aspects of the DLC. First, I wish there was more than one chance to completely stop incursions. When you basically complete the DLC, you have to make a choice that determines if incursions will continue or if they will stop permanently. In my playthrough, I selected the choice to keep them continuing. I made that selection because I needed more incursions to complete the achievements, and the other option seemed too aggressive. Still, it would be nice to reach a point where incursions are no longer an issue. This could be a gameplay setting, as there is one already available to control incursion frequency. I also had mixed feelings unlocking some of the achievements behind gameplay choices. This was the case with Delta's final quest, Power Struggle. I had to make a save before each final combat in order to be both inferior and superior to Delta. Here's the example of where I decided to lose to Delta. and I can't stand this guy. Even doing nothing, I was causing him damage. But here I just let him win so that I'd be able to have both sides of the power struggle achievement.
Updating parameters. Potential kill shot detected. Pausing and analyzing combat encounter.
Next, dislikes. I'm not a big fan of Delta. Just listen to how whiny he is when you defeat him in combat. I mean, I'm using starboard powers on this guy, and he doesn't think he could be defeated by me. I did not care for this attitude. I would have much preferred Buck E as the robot companion. Let's hear an example of how whiny Delta is.
Error. No failure protocol terminated. Incoming data incorrect. Cannot be defeated by human.
Delta also seemed too aggressive. Consider how he handled the admittedly despicable couple at their house. It's not like he knew they were bad people. He simply used them in his superiority testing.
Ready to proceed. Should begin now, while bodies are still warm. Incorrect. No blood in this frame. Additionally, blood would not be cold. Incorrect again. Reason is clear. We need the bodies. If disturbed, proceeding with challenge will alleviate you. Moving on to third challenge.
I've read that a lot of you didn't like having Delta locked during the entire Terran Armada quest. The only reason I would have kept Delta around was that his EM blast helps defeat Terran Armada robots. And speaking of those robots, it would have been nice to customize Delta in some way. I must have blasted him a dozen times in combat because he looks exactly like the other Terran Armada robots.
Listen close. We learned from Roxanne that their ship, the Unifier, is supported by shield amplifier ships. This means our first course of action will be to take them out.
I was not sold on Void as a legitimate decision-making or leadership authority. It would have been nice to bring back some characters from the vanilla game, like Sarah's old boss at Mast, or the sheriff from Aquila City, or Imogen from Ryogen. The finale seemed anticlimactic. There was a big battle, but it didn't have much of an impact for me. The Crimson Fleet quest finale, for example, was much more enjoyable. Probably the biggest miss for me was not offering the ability to join the Terran Armada as a faction and to do missions for them. Players can already join the Crimson Fleet, so why not the Terran Armada? Sarah would really have loved that. I think this was a missed opportunity in Shattered Space, too. It would have been cool to officially identify as House Varun and then have specifically themed missions and gear.
Now, be safe. I'm not sure what I would do if I lost you and Delta.
Conclusion. I liked Terran Armada, but upon reflection, I think I enjoyed playing Shattered Space more. Was Terran Armada enough to justify the $10 price if you had to buy it? Definitely. There are other $10 creations, like Watchtower, and Terran Armada holds up nicely. I've seen some comparison between Terran Armada and Watchtower, and I think they each have their place. While Watchtower added enemy mechs as opponents, it would have been cool for Bethesda to bring playable mechs to the game through Free Lanes or Terran Armada. Will we get another DLC? In my video, Starfield News, expansions after April 7th are planned, I said the following. I watched 2 interviews with Todd Howard and one with Tim Lamb, and all 3 contain the same message. Quote, there is going to be more Starfield, end quote. And this quote is definitely not the end for Starfield. Todd and Tim said there are other roadmap items that Bethesda would like to add to the game in future updates. But with all the turmoil at Xbox, we don't know what will happen. I'm optimistic, as I noted in my last video. For now, though, I'm keeping my eyes on the modding community. There are many amazing projects in the works, which I will cover here. Co-op mode is one of them. Thank you, Bethesda, for publishing Terran Armada. And thank you to all my subscribers. Please consider subscribing to show YouTube that you enjoy positive and honest Starfield content. In addition to videos, I also post to the community tab for this channel on a daily basis. If you subscribe, you'll see these posts in your YouTube feed. And this is honestly where I keep up with everything. So if you want to hear Starfield news from me, please subscribe. Special thanks to all channel members. I hope you're enjoying our private Discord server, early access to these videos, and the occasional members-only live stream. If you'd like to know more about membership, click the join button on the channel. I use your contributions to pay for drives for capturing footage, to buy creations to review, and to pay the monthly fee for StreamYard, which I use for live streams. If you made it to this part of the video, please leave a comment with the word petulant. That's the way I describe Delta. Check out my other videos, and please tell your friends about the channel. My name is Richard. I will see you in the Starfield. And as one set of bonus footage, I'm going to include the rest of the interaction with Connor that is part of the Unspoken Regret quest. Like I said, this is one of my favorite parts of Terran Armada, so I'd like to include that here if you want to watch and didn't see it in your own playthrough.
It's from my father. He's gone. I didn't think I'd hear from him ever again. But after those threats over SSNN, a part of me knew it was a possibility. If you don't mind my asking, how did he die? So he died for their stupid cause after all. I guess all I can hope for is that he didn't take any innocent lives before dying himself. I'll read this more in depth later. But thank you for delivering this. My father was a great man. Great dad. Until the Terran Armada ruined him. He was a UC lieutenant back then. Back when we were fed up with the colony war and I was fresh out of training. He always tried to be present, even though the hours weren't ideal in the military. Explaining the rules during bat-ball or football games. Family dinners with conversations. Helping me with homework and making sure I understood it. He was kind. Supportive. He loved me. And then bit by bit, I watched the words of small-minded extremists turn him into someone I barely recognized. Not initially, but he pulled strings to make sure I was on his ship when we met with the Freestar Collective. If the agreement didn't work out, he wanted to make sure he did all he could to protect me. It's sad to think how that mentality changed over the years. My father has never been one to think on his own. He's a soldier at heart. So as the people in authority became more extreme, like he said, he blindly followed. He took on their ideals, their disgust with the settled systems. And before I knew it, I'd lost him. My mother died in that war, alongside countless others. And for what? A war over territory when humanity has the entirety of space to explore? It's fruitless. I think so. Yes. He was so tied up in the war that he never got the chance to properly mourn. Once we discovered X-Tech and talk began to circulate of returning, I think it triggered something deep inside. All the anger he kept suppressed just resurfaced, and the Terran view of the settled systems just fueled the fire. It's over 20 years ago now. I've made my peace with it. But the occasional memory will still catch me off guard. She insisted on decorating for every holiday. She made the best pie crusts. Knew how to fix any household problem. She was an engineer. So if anything broke in the house, she insisted on fixing it herself. Thank you. Thank you for delivering this. I haven't thought about the past in a while now. And this brings me a sense of closure that I've been lacking for a long time. It's good to finally have some closure. For a time, yes. I just finished training when my father told me the plan to abandon the colony war and leave the settled systems. Back then, we were united in our beliefs and thought we could simply live a better life elsewhere. But once we discovered X-Tech, the attitudes changed. Some saw it as a way back home and a means to correct the settled systems. Sure. The Terrans think they're somehow superior and can subjugate the settled systems. It's a ridiculous notion that started out as the ideals of a few powerful people and was pushed on to the rest of us. It also goes against the very beliefs that drove us to leave in the first place. Good luck out there.